Hello guys, I hope you all doing good. It's been a while since I've recorded a YouTube video. I've been busy lately with lots of personal and professional stuff, so I was not getting time to record a video because recording a video consumes lots of time and I was getting burned out at work and due to the personal things. So I was getting rest little bit lately. Now that I have bandwidth available with me, I thought of solving a machine coding question and record a video on it. I'll be also resuming YouTube. I'll have lots of content on my website. I'm thinking to convert those to video content so that I can explain those better and students or person or student who is, want to learn, they can understand it better. So today we are going to solve a machine coding question that you can expect for ST2, ST3 or staff engineer. What we have to do is we have to implement this comparison slider in React. As you can see in the example, how comparison slider works is we have two images and we compare one with the another one. Here we have this drag option where you click, hold that and then drag. If you move your mouse as it is, it won't work. You have to hold it and then you have to drag for the comparison. Then there is an overlay image and then there is one original image. So the original image remains still and the overlay image moves as you slide or move your mouse by holding it. So we have to create something similar in the React. We'll be creating the same. I'll be taking two images as the input. I have my two favorite anime characters over here from the Dragon Ball Z. I hope you have also cherished that during your childhood, so I'll be using the same for the comparison. On these two images, we'll be creating a comparison slider. Before I start coding, I want to let you know that I have this course on the front-end system design where I have all the resources that is required to crack a front-end interview collected at a single place. This is the textual content. As you can see, the comparison slider, the question is already there. Apart from this, there are 30 more machine coding questions. Then we have system design questions. Out of 30, 17 are published. We have 21 React hooks, custom hooks implemented. Then you have interview guide, code management, then styling articles, things that you need to prepare for interviews and crack majorly the front-end system design. So we have style guides, how do you understand internationalization and accessibility. We have state management, cookies, then microstate management with just and a library, normalization, querying of data, and then three different architectures, Flux, MobX, and Redux. I have multiple articles on web security that you need to know if you are preparing for interviews or if you are targeting fintechs. I have web fundamental articles, I have optimization techniques, then rendering pattern, which is essential to ace a front-end system design. I have 29 design patterns, and then I have these data structures I have added recently. I guess there are 15 or 16 data structures, the common one that you need. And then I'll be adding 120 or 150 algorithms as well. I've started adding those. And apart from that, I have my book, JavaScript interview guide over here that contains 120 solved JavaScript based questions that you can expect in JavaScript interviews. So if you are preparing for front-end interviews, you can enroll into the course. You get lifetime access to it. So let's start coding. We have this component app, or you can call it as image comparison slider that will take two images. And the dimension, why dimension? Because we want to define the size of the comparison area. So as I was saying, dimensions are important because we need to define the boundary or the area of the comparison slider. So that's why we'll be accepting that as well. I'm not defining here because I'll be setting a default value to that, but we do need it. So let's start coding it. Based on the props that we are going to receive, we'll have two images. and then we'll have dimension of it. So let's say width and height, and I'm defining a default value of 500 pixel to the width and similar for the height. Now let's create the layout of the comparison slider. So we'll have a div, we'll add a class name to it, let's call this container, and then inside that we have two more div for the two images, and then we'll have one span which will be the slider or the drag handle that we'll be using for the comparison, on which we'll click and drag the mouse. So let's give all of them class names. So this will be slider, and then this will be overlay image, and that will be the sitting image. So we don't have to name this. Let's add the image. We'll add source as image1. So we got this Vegeta over here, and then we'll add the second image, the source image2. Now as we have the width and height, we need to set the dimension of the elements. So let's define a variable dimension. You can set it explicitly as well. I prefer creating an object and then having it at a single place so that it is easier to maintain. And then here I'll set style as dimension. Similarly, you can set or you can ignore the size to the image as well, but I prefer setting those. Now we got two images. We have to now style them so that the second image, the overlay image, is placed above the first image. So here, to place an image above it, we have to make it absolute position, and in order to make the absolute work, we have to make the parent a relative parent. So the container will set the position as relative, and then to the overlay we'll say that its position should be absolute with left 0, top 0, and as you can see, right, and then we'll keep its width 50% initially so that it's half visible, and we'll say that overflow for this is hidden so that the image underneath, which has the dimension of 500 pixel that we have set over here, right, we have set the dimension for the image as 500 pixel or whatever we are receiving in the component. So in order to hide that, we have to set the overflow as hidden for this. So that's what we have done. To the container, let's add box shadow, 0 pixel, 1 pixel, 5 pixel, just to make it little bit elegant. So now we have added the box shadow. The box comes and looks nice. And then after this, after overlay, we have this slider. So we have to design the slider as well. Slider will be similar. It will be position absolute, but it will have a defined set of dimension with 50 pixel, height 50 pixel, and then border radius of 50% so that it becomes a circle. We set the background as red, then we set left as 50%, top as 50%, it's now visible, and then we have to center align it. So we'll transform and translate its x and y axis to minus 50% so that it is center aligned. Now it is center aligned, as you can see, and then we'll set the cursor position for it sorry, we set the cursor, we call it ES resize or EW resize. Okay, now the cursor is also visible, you can see, and the drag handle is at the center of the overlay image. Now we can drag and we can extend the width of the overlay div. So let's do that. Our styling is done. Let's add functionality. Now the functionality can be broken down into three things. As I explained, the drag works when we click on this circle area and then we hold the mouse button and then drag. So what we have to do is we have to monitor if the area or the user has clicked over this area or not. If they have clicked and then the mouse is moving, then we have to drag it. So on the slider, we will assign two events, one for the desktop, one for the touch devices, which is mobile and tablet. So on mouse down, okay, so whenever you click, you assign this event mouse down. And then the second is on touch start. What we do is we'll create this function slide start that will be invoked, and what slide start will do is we'll maintain a state to check if mouse is down or not. So let's create a state can start and set can start. This is to determine if user has clicked or not on the, or if he is holding or not the drag area. So we'll set can start as true. So this decides that right now the slider is selected or it's on hold, and if we are dragging in, then it should work. Now after this, what we have to do is when user leaves the mouse, we have to set this set can start to false, because once the area is left and the user is, sorry, if the user is not clicking on this area and they are moving this mouse, we don't have to do anything. So we have to remove this or reset this state. So for that we'll use effect and we'll listen to the global event. Why? This is because there is a possibility that while you are dragging, your mouse has left the drag area. I'll explain you in a bit, but there is a possibility that while dragging, let's say if I'm holding and dragging, my cursor moves out of this drag area. So in that case, if I'm attaching the event on this span, it won't trigger. So what we have to do is we have to listen to the global event over here. So what we'll do is we'll say window dot add event listener and mouse up. So here we have mouse down, and here when we release the mouse, we have mouse up event. And what will happen is this will do slide stop. So let's define this function slide stop. Slide stop, and here we'll set this as false. Similarly, what we'll do is we'll listen to the, here we have touch start event, so we'll listen to the touch end event and we'll do the slide stop. These events will be assigned when the component will mount. So we have to remove the listeners as well. So that's why I'm clearing it over here. So in the use effect, when you return a function, this is invoked when the component is about to unmount. So inside that we paste this and we remove the listener. So let's remove this and this. Now when you click, it will do set can start, and if you remove, it will set it to false. So let's print and see this. Console.log can start, and in the console, if you see, right now it's false. If I click, it becomes true. If I leave it, it becomes false. So it's working fine. Now what we have to do is we have to listen to the slide moving, which is mouse moving basically, and on the touch it is touch move. So we have to listen to that. Let's add the event listener for this. Again, we'll be listening to the global events for this because the cursor after selecting can move anywhere on the screen. So we don't have to assign it to a particular element. We have to assign it to the whole window. So here we have mouse move event, and then here we have touch move event, and here we'll listen to the, or we'll invoke the function slide move. We'll define that in a bit. We are listening to the, or we are attaching the event over here. We have to remove that as well. Let me hide this. Let's remove this, and here as well. Let me remove this, and then let's define the slide move. Const slide move. And then here we'll check if can start. So only if the mouse is down and we are moving the mouse, or if the handler is, it's being dragged after clicking, then only we'll say that slide move is happening. So here I'll add a message moving. Now this slide move should invoke when we are clicking on this and dragging. Let's open the console again. We'll clear this and see if it is working or not. So see, it's not working. Now this is the stage where majority of developers get stuck because they are not able to determine why it's not happening. What happens is when you click on this, so the state updates. When the state updates, this component updates, and the event is not attached properly. What happens is it removes the listener after the state updates. So what we have to do is we have to reassign the listener, and for that what we have to do is we have to add the dependency over here. So if the can starts value updates, we have to reassign the listener. Otherwise, when the mouse down happened and this state has been updated, it removes the listener. So now if you see, after that I have added the dependency, you will see that when I hold and drag this, you will see moving logged on to the console. So see, now you see moving logged on to the console, and if I leave this, nothing will fire even if I move the cursor, and if I hold it again, you see that it's being fired. So this is a crucial stage or part of this while creating this component. And remember this, it's small things, but while doing the interviews, we are so tense that we forgot minor things. So this is the dependency which is very important over here. Now that we have got this function or the structure of the application ready, all we have to do is on the slide move, we have to do the calculation, and then we have to set the width of this overlay area. Here we have to update two things. One is this overlay and second is this slider. So we have to update the two positions over here. Now to update them, there are two ways in React. One is either you update the state will cause re-rendering and then it will update the position. Now for the application where you have to constantly update or do repainting, right? Using state for that is not recommended because that can cause the performance issue. Other way to directly update the elements is by referencing to them. So we create a reference and then we directly update the style of it. So let's create references. One reference will be for overlay. So overlay reference, we create this user ref with null. Second is the slider ref. use ref null. And third will be for the image, this image. I'll explain you in a bit why do we need reference for this image, but because we have created these two, so let's assign them overlay and slider ref. So for the overlay, the ref goes to overlay ref, and for this the ref goes to slider ref. Now when the mouse move event is triggered, we get the event object, because this is from this we are going to calculate the position of the cursor, and basis on which we decide what will be the width of this overlay. So we have to get this event. The first thing we'll do is we'll see that if this event or this slide move can happen or not. So if we cannot start, or if the cursor is moving freely without selecting or dragging the handle, we cannot do slide move. So what we do is, if we cannot start, we return. Nothing can happen over here. Second condition is if overlay ref is not selected. So if it is not assigned properly, or overlay element is not in the picture, or our slider ref is not in the picture, we return. And after this, what we do is we do the calculation. So let's define this variable, and we'll do get cursor position, and we pass our event object to that. Now let's define this function. It's not there. We'll use this as a helper function for calculating the width. So const get cursor position, it will take the event, and then inside this we'll do the calculation. So how do we do this calculation is, we listen to the event object. The first thing is if event is not there, so we listen to the window event, because anyway we are assigning to the window listener only. So if the event is not there, we listen to the window event, and after that we do the calculation. Now how do we do the calculation is, we have to check where the mouse is moving inside this container. Now inside this container means we have to keep the position, get the position of the image, and then we have to do the calculation. So this image always starts from left and go to the right. The painting on the browser happens from left to the right. It's never from the right to the left. That's why when you define the positioning, let's say for example, if you are doing the absolute position like I have done over here, I just set the left and the top position, because the painting or the rendering on the browser happens from the left and the top. So using this, we have to do the calculation. Now how the calculation will happen is, we have to check the starting point of the image. Now because both the images are placed above and below, right? The below image also starts from the same place where the above image starts. So we can reference to the below image, we can take its left position on the screen, and then we get the mouse current position, and we do the subtraction from that to decide where the mouse is respective to the image. So for that only I had to create the image reference, which I have not done earlier. So let's do that. Here we'll say that image ref equals to use ref null, and then after that let's assign that over here. So ref equals to image ref. Now let's get the image properties. So image ref dot current dot get bounding client rectangle. Now this function get bounding client rectangle provides us the box model of this image. Now if you remember the box model of the CSS, it contains width, height, padding, margin, left, right, top position, everything. So this bounding client rectangle returns us the dimension of this image, which includes width, height, and then your left and top position, right and bottom also if it is defined. otherwise it will be 0 0. Now whenever there are different metrics to define the dimension, right? So we can use pixel, we can use point, we can use view height, view width, everything to define the dimension for the and particular element. When it is rendered on the browser, it is converted to pixels. So this returns value in pixel. This makes sure that even if we are getting this in different metric, this is converted to pixel and we are doing the calculation based on that only. Now this is also helpful here to decide the boundary of the cursor. I'll show you in a bit. So here we got the image. Now what we do is we do the calculation over here. We set the x value. X is the current position of the cursor that determines the width for the overlay. So what we do is we take page x of the E, which gives us the position of the cursor, which is the event fired, in our case, which is mouse move, and then what's its position on the x-axis of the page. So because we are dragging it from the left to the right, that's the x-axis, and it will give us the position of the x in the pixel, the mouse in the pixel on the x-axis, starting from 0 to whatever we are moving to. And we subtract the image left value. So as you can see right here, there is a little bit gap between the body and the image container. So maybe 8 or 9 pixels over here. So that we want to subtract, and based on that we have to decide the position. This gives us 100% accuracy for the image, mouse position. So we got this, and after this what we do is we subtract the cursor, or the scroll position as well. So let's say if it is we have smaller container and it's scrolling on the x-axis, we want to subtract that value as well. I'll show you how it works, but here what we do is we subtract the scroll position as well, and once we have got this, we have to return it. So we got in pixel what's the width of the mouse position. So let's say if mouse position is here, it will give us, let's say, 400 or 500 pixels. So that will become the width for the overlay. So we got this. This will return us the position of the mouse. Now what we have to do is we have to make a check. If position is less than 0, so what we have to do is we have to bound it. We cannot go into the negative values, so we have to reset it to position 0. Otherwise, if position is greater than the width of the container, now then we'll reset it as to the width. Now this width is what we are receiving, right? So this can be in different matrix. We have to get the actual width in the pixel. Now what we can do over here is let's say we have the image reference. So we get this, and from here we get its width. This will give us the bounded width, and so that we can keep the cursor bounded to the container dimension. Once we got this, we just have to slide. Now let's create this helper function slide that will update the slider and the overlays position. So const slide, we get x. Now we can directly update to the reference the style of the element. So overlay ref dot current dot style dot width equals to x plus pixel. And for the slider, we don't update the width, we update its left position. So slider ref dot current dot style dot left equals to x plus pixel. Let's save this, let's clear this, let's reload this and see if it is working fine or not. So now you see this works like charm. Let me get more area so that we don't get the scrolling. So it's working fine. Now let me hide this. So even if after selecting my mouse goes up or down, the slider works fine. Now if I shrink the space and let's say we get a scroll bar, right? If you see, we are getting a scroll bar the bottom. Even after that, the slider works fine. This is because we have considered the scroll position and we have kept it in the mind. So this is how you can create a comparison slider. Now let me show you why using this get bounding light rectangle works. So right now here you see that we have defined the value in pixel. Let me convert this to view height. So let's say if I get 75 view height and here as well 75 view height, sorry, here view width, still this works like a charm. Even if I define this in EM, right, let's say 50 EM and here 50 EM, so it becomes quite big. Let's see 2020 EM, again this works fine. So irrespective of what metric you are passing, this will work fine, except for the percentage. For the percentage, it does the calculation based on the parent. So if you are using percentage, you have to create a parent around this and you have to set a value for that. Otherwise, for any other metric, let's say point, REM, EM, then pixel, it works fine. So this is how you can create a comparison slider in React. I hope you have learned something new today. Thank you for your time.